Experience 10 days of Grand Europe trip for easy EMI of Rs 25,000 only with GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Wonder Diamond, South India's largest lab-grown diamond brand, stores at Chennai, Coimbatore, Bangalore and Hyderabad.
Hello everyone and welcome to Galattaplus. First of all, what a coup. I think this is the series that's got the biggest box office star in all of India to star in an OTT series, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if a star of Venkatesh's stature has done in any other language, right? Like, how did that happen? And especially in a role that's so against his, like, clean, squeaky clean, family-friendly message. The minute I heard him say the G word in the I was like, okay, this is like...
He's not heard the rest yet.
Yeah, so it's just like, okay, this is something else, So what did it take,
See, well, like he always consistently was looking for something new, but you know how our industries are with image and
Right.
And he's tried a few which didn't work, so he just went back to the routine. But when this came about and
You're saying he tried a few?
yeah, I mean in Telugu in the past,
Okay.
which didn't really do the job because maybe they weren't good films.
But they were films, okay.
They were films.
Yeah.
So he continued with his image that he's got, and stories kept coming back like that. And he was looking for something new, and I guess this is the right thing that came about. And he saw it, he was interested in playing it, and he heard Karan and the others adapt it, and that's it. He jumped on, and he was pretty excited to do it for sure.
Right. One thing that's very new and unusual here is that usually when something is set against a Bollywood background, you never find South Indian names as the headlining. When you say Rana Naidu, the automatic assumption is that it's a Telugu series, because it's just a regional thing. It's like people.
Yeah, you would call it Ram Talwakar or something and make it a North Pan-India thing.
Yeah. So, why the Telugu, why did you decide that the Bollywood fixer would be, like a Telugu guy? And the title, because the first time I heard of the name, I really thought Netflix's Telugu series. And it was like, and I think it's, a lot of people are going to think that, right? So it's like, so what is that? If you could talk about that.
The characters, we wanted them to have that fish out of water feel.
Ah, okay.
So, and we want to remain authentic to that dynamic. So we wanted to bring South Indian characters, a family from South India, to Bollywood. So that was preserved by doing that. And so when I first started conceptualizing the project, it was natural for me to also think of Rana, and then everything kind of came together with Karan also joining as the showrunner, and of course, as Rana said, they wanted to have a challenge themselves, and it was just, the story is so well written and has so much depth that I think it's natural for them to respond to it and feel that this is the one that we want to do.
What about Ray Donovan said this is going to really work in an Indian setting? What is that thing?
I think it was everything in a way, because I knew this is the first time I'm doing an adaptation, and for me, I've always gone to town saying I'll never do an adaptation. But then I saw this, it was the beginning of the pandemic, and suddenly everyone's like uncertain if there's going to be a tomorrow at all, and we're all just going to die walking on the streets.
You should make a zombie series.
I am making a zombie series. Hey, Netflix, sorry, sign me up for that. Anyway, so when I saw it, and I was like, man, there's so many things here that we can use and amp it up for for an adaptation. Because at the end of the day, all this Bollywood and fixing and all of that's the dressing. It's really at the core of it a family.
Yeah.
That needs, that's completely dysfunctional and needs to be
broken
fixed.
family,
And he can't, the title character is unable to do that, and he's the one, in fact, creating a bunch of those problems. And just given the social contracts that we have with family in India, it just adds a, tremendous layer which is not there in an American situation. The idea that, the social mores sort of force you to see and respect and force you to see family in a certain manner. When you add that layer up to the dynamic, it just made it so much more interesting. And even there was the idea of some guys from a Boston family coming to LA and sort of making it big in their own way. And here, to do that in a city like Mumbai, where your extremities are so much more extreme than it will ever be in LA, that it was, just begging to be sort of taken and stretched to its max. So I think we really, that was fun. And at the same time, the idea was to keep the core characters and what their arcs are broadly. But then we just sort of played around with everything else.
Suparn, you want to add something to that?
So for me personally, it was a father and son dynamic. I mean, we were discussing earlier that, my whole fascination for father and son stems from understanding the dynamic of what a father and son relationship is like, because I lost mine very early in life. And one of the seminal films for me was Ramesh Sippy Shakti,
Yeah.
where you have Amitabh Bachchan and Dilip Kumar going against each other. And when Karan talked about, Rana Naidu, one, my fascination for Telugu cinema, and also the fact is, I've been lucky enough to work with one great actor from there, in fact, a couple of them from there, and now again this, which is making me inch closer to my dream of making a Telugu film,
Right.
eventually. But on a serious note, to get these two guys at each other in the most unusual father and son relationship,
Right.
which is not trying to find love or make a bridge in the relationship, it's either reverse. They're at each other's throats all the time.
Yeah.
So-
Ash, all the beep time.
All the beep time.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly in the spirit of Rana Naidu.
Yeah.
But that's so much fun. And these guys are close as hell in real life. So it was a challenge for them.
Right.
And as a director, it becomes even more fun because you got these two guys who love each other,
Right.
trying to kill each other on screen and making that dynamic work.
Right.
So everything pops.
Right.
And that's fun.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen Karthik Subbaraj's Mahan,
Yeah.
where Dhruv Vikram is antagonistic to Vikram,
Yes.
who's his dad, right? So when I spoke to them, so Dhruv said he had to kind of get into the zone a bit because it was like he found it a little difficult to push himself, from this father-son thing to this being enemies on screen. For you, was it just acting, switch on, switch off, or did you have to kind of do something to kind of say, beloved uncle, sorry, but I'm going to have to
See, I'm saying there was a nervousness because it's my uncle in general and it's the first time I'm working with him. But see, I've played bad characters, man.
Yeah, sure.
I was a bad guy. So
You're probably the most famous bad guy
Yes.
in Indian cinema now after Bahubali. Yes.
I think, the characters were so well defined, and by the time we actually got to working together, both of us independently were in those characters quite deeply.
Okay.
And also it was Hindi, so it was not our first language. It's not our language of communication. So we're still like actors doing it. But it just got really crazy when we were dubbing it in Telugu, right? Because I felt like I was discovering another show. I was like, oh God, now this I wouldn't have ever said to him. Because then it's too close to home.
Yeah.
So I guess we did it well also because it was Hindi.
Right.
And whether it's foul words or anything, it didn't matter because we didn't know it enough, I guess. So yeah, so I think that wasn't a problem on set. It was just a lot of discussion in dubbing.
I think
Right.
also you mentioned about your character being called Rana being...
Yeah, that was the only problem, right? I'm saying at the end of the line when he keeps referring to as Rana, it somewhere goes back to me as a person.
No, and Rana Naidu sounds so much like Rama Naidu.
Yes.
It's like,
We had that discussion.
I know there's quite a few things.
So this is like a generational thing.
Yeah, it's like a
Just
generational thing in some ways, I guess.
And there's a lot of things for people who are in the know, for all the meta references that are there. There's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
The whole show is full of those.
full of Easter eggs.
Oh,
Yeah.
lots of them.
Lots of them.
Okay, right. So Karan and Suparn, you were both like film critics a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Not so far away, I'm 16. Anyway.
Yeah, so anyway, what was the jump like? And was this what you always wanted to do, both you guys? And the film criticism was a kind of means of entry into exploring this? Or was it like just one fine day you said, I've had enough of reviewing shit films and like, I'm just going to do something else?
So I started off with Rediff and I was there for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
And besides being a movie critic, I was also running Rediff chat and stuff. So my editor gave me a lot of leeway to do and play around a lot of things. I wanted to be a filmmaker since the age of 9. And I did not know how to enter the film world because I come from a background which is all journalists, right?
Right.
And I took the longer route.
You're not a Nepo kid.
I love you, Raj.
I just feel at some point, Baradwaj Rangan will be my showrunner for some series that I'm going to do.
So it was an interesting journey, and every KRA of mine every year would say that I'm going to make a film. And luckily for me, interestingly, my job, I realized something in life. Everything in life is a series of coincidences.
Right.
So the way I entered the film industry is Ram Gopal Varma was sound mixing them the horror film which he did.
Right.
And I went to interview him. I look at a scene and I go like, that's Pet Cemetery. And he jumped. How do you know? Because he had, taken the story from Pet Cemetery basically. So I showed him my press card. And my press card has Stephen King's photograph on it, not mine. And I had hair those days. So he says, you look like him. So I worked with him for 6-7 months. And this is before Company and Bhoot.
Oh, wow.
And he was literally my film school when it came to understanding screenplay. Every day in the morning, I would get a call at 7 in the morning. And I've come from office at 2 in the night. Suparn, where are you? I'm like, I'm home. Come over. I take 40 minutes to reach his house because I live in Goregaon, he lives in Warsaw. And he says, you took time. I'm like, I don't live next to you. I'm in Goregaon. That's a little time away. And he would sit for 2 hours every day and break story.
Right.
That was filmmaking school for me. And because of Rediff Chat, I ended up doing a chat with Manoj Bajpayee in Hansal Mehta's house. And that's how my first debut film happened. Everything in my life is a series of coincidences where I got to write films. And then one fine day I said, you know what, I want to make my own films. And I began making my films. Did it in the era where you would be given DVDs and be inspired illegally by films till you kind of got to make your original stuff. So my version of Atma was something I wrote as Bhoot for Rana Daggubati. My version of Zameen is Sarfarosh 2 because John Matthew Mithun was looking. So anyway, I mean, things kept happening and it's been a journey. I did not, and for me, even as a critic, I came from a space of loving films.
Yeah.
I'm a fanboy in this industry. Every day on set, I actually look around thinking somebody will throw off set saying that you're not, who are you? Because, and then you realize, oh shit, this is my set. I'm a director. And that's not changed. And yeah, so for me, it's a dream come true, not the other way around. So yeah, Karan.
Quite the opposite story. I actually went to a literal film school.
And film family.
And yes, a full Nepo kid whose connections never paid off. Okay, because I was like, for 10 years, I was struggling with like writing scripts and pitching them to every single person I could meet. I was just not translating, man. I was like, what kind of film family is this? For one thing you gotta give me, man. So, that's where all this father-son angst also comes from. And yeah, I love films and I love watching movies and I love writing.
I love Bangistan, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You and I both.
Yeah.
Out of the entire planet. But then for me it was, I love films. I love watching them. I love writing. It's just a very obvious thing. And when Mira called me and said, you want this gig? I said, yeah, because I just get to watch films for free. Not true. I still have to pay for like 8 tickets every morning, every Friday so that the show would happen.
Lots of times, yeah.
So it just actually might have cost me more to do it, to do the job than it paid me. But there was also a great learning experience. Yeah. Out of the 300 films, is that what an average? About 150 films is what we see in a year. 5 of them are good, but the 145 other films teach you what not to do, I suppose. So,
Which is why he's also behind Ghanta Awards, but yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, that was my journey. But I always wanted to make films.
Right.
That was very clear. This
Right.
was just something to kill time.
When you decided to make this adaptation, what was the first thing that you did? Who was the first person that you approached?
Oh, good question. First person I approached. I talked to some people that advised me in the industry and started chatting, getting good advice about who and how to conceptualize it. There were some who suggested, and just like you have to take good advice, you have to also take the bad advice and know what to deselect. And there were some that were suggesting, let's get a big A-list Hindi star in, which would have really changed the dynamic of the show. So I kind of stuck to my guns, and then Collective was really helpful in putting together, some of the vision for what the show could look like in India. That's how we got started, and then started having the conversations with these gentlemen.
So Rana, this is your OTT debut. Have you been offered shows before?
I have been.
Nothing.
One is, I've been offered some originals which I didn't know whether I was capable enough to say yes or no to a story, because I just didn't understand the format in which they were written.
Okay.
And
can you just explain that? Well,
see, I just feel like say, okay, now a show like Rana Naidu, it's a show that's got a lot of characters, a lot of conflicts, consistently the character keeps changing over time. The same guy you love, you will hate, feel the other way around. And it's not really plot driven. It's character driven, and then obviously there is a plot to it. But I mean, especially where I'm from, whether it's Hyderabad, Chennai, where we listen to most scripts, very few people have that long form understanding.
Right.
It's almost a film that's extended, where it's a plot based thing, but you're just pulling this to make a 6 or an 8 episode.
Yeah,
Always this was my feeling every time I was reading those. I was like, okay, why couldn't this just be a film and it's done? But when first Sunder sent, when I saw Ray Donovan first, and I said, okay, no, this is a story now. It's a big story.
So this is the first time you saw.
Yeah, that's the first time. This is the first time I saw it. And then I saw Mirzapur because I've seen that before, but I saw the whole thing after I know Karan was coming on board. And you're like, okay, here you go.
To evaluate him.
No, I just see. I'm saying.
Kidding.
No, and also this industry is so young, right? It's 3-4 years old. It's guys like I know so many of my filmmaker friends who actually don't know how to write a whole show, but they've just made shows and stuff like that. And they were really, really bad. And this happened with like A-list filmmakers and stuff like that. So it's not, I haven't had the best understanding of it. The minute I saw Mirzapur and I understood, I said, wow, this guy knows how to build a world. He's really built a bunch of characters that are new. And what he did with Rana Naidu just was amazing, because that story feels more like ours than theirs. Now, for sure. So that was it. And the combination of all of that was how I landed on.
Drew you in. So when you say that, you're taking the core of something from there and adapting it to an Indian audience, I've always had this question. There is no such thing as an Indian audience, right? It's like, it's all over the place. It's like, there are people who write hardcore, only watch hardcore masala movies. There are people who watch what Bollywood has been making pre-pandemic, kind of these little elite kind of films. When you make a show, do you do it with an audience in mind, or do you just do it with the core of the show is this and it's going to find its own audience?
I think it has to be with the core of the show and the story. I mean, it's like what you're drawn towards, right?
Right.
Each show or story has a certain understanding that will reach.
Right.
So it could be niche, it could be something that connects to a lot of people. A show like Rana Naidu or any show that deals with family.
Right.
Dysfunctional families or broken families or people who are messed up, they tend to have more of a reflection with the audiences, because then it's not about language anymore. It's about personalities.
Right.
And shows especially are, I think, more character driven. And if a character becomes something that you can connect with, who's universal, their problems and troubles are yours, and you want to see them rise and you want to see them fail, then it just gets a larger audience. I don't think anybody sits down to, write that it's going to connect with 100 million. You want to, but that's not how you can write.
Right, but I think that, I think there are some directors who kind of...
It happens, I think, more in films, especially,
okay.
Because then you are looking at an audience which is distribution sector-wise, that I need to put this song up the comedy quotient here, take it here, your first half, second half to be such that post-interval you need one shitty scene because nobody's going to be walking in the theatres. Okay. It's a craft, right? It's a craft.
Right.
The language here, it's not a 3-act structure, number one.
Right.
In an episode, your 3-act structure is across 10 episodes. And as Rana was talking earlier, a show is literally like 3-4 films together. It's not even extended one film story.
Yeah.
The arcs are much bigger, and there are multiple arcs. It's not just Rana Naidu alone. There is Naga's story, there is Surveen's story, there is Abhishek Banerjee's story, there is Sushant's story. So these are multiple arcs coming together. So you cannot think ever in terms of, I'm writing for this audience. It is about what's true to the character in the story. And I think that's why we are, one, lucky and privileged to be in this era of storytelling where long format is nothing but writing novels.
Right.
That's what we are doing. We are writing novels on celluloid. So that connects at a much deeper level. They take you in at a very visceral place, to a very visceral place.
Right.
Is what I think.
Karan, sorry.
No, I just wanted to expand on what you were saying. I mean, I don't think you can really plan to cater and, write a hit film or a hit series. You have to write what appeals to you and what you would watch. I think that's the only trick to it. Like, I'm excited about this as I'm writing it. I mean, that's the only way, right? And as long as you're culturally rooted in a world that you know and you're not, or you're very sure of in a way, even if you're just completely making it up, it's something that that's the only way. I think you have to be true to yourself and say, will I watch this? Will my, the people I know or like, and then it translates into something if you are convinced, then I think you will end up convincing a lot more people. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that is the logic, but you also, that like you said,
But film is different because film is become such a science now that it's very easy. Like any film you watch now, which is new, you know exactly how it's going to pan out and how it's going to end and what's going to happen to the character, because there's 2 hours where you can only do so much.
Yeah.
To a max effect. And that's what I love about this, especially in Rana Naidu. I think we've just gone to town like it's going to be so surprising because there is no neat box that anything is going to fit into.
Right.
Like Rana is going and doing some Naidu is doing some crazy thing.
That's it. Naidu.
Like, it's completely all negative stuff that without any comeuppance, for example. There's all sorts of, and there's no payoff, there's no redemption sometimes, or it could be the other way around with Naga's character. So there's all sorts of things happening that we're trying for the first time, which is going to be really exciting.
I read somewhere that, I read a series of articles where like, oh my God, Venki, what have you done? Why have you spoiled your image? You were such a lovely, cuddly teddy bear and now you're doing all these things. So there's got to be more of that after the show.
Teddy bear just got wild.
The trailer was just like literally...
This is the era of cocaine bear, right?
So you must have had a chat with him about it. I mean, like what that...
Yeah, many times. See, one is...
All they chat about it.
No, see, one is, we chose to do this story.
Right.
And which means...
So he was completely clear.
Yeah. See, once he chooses, he's 100% in and does what it needs to take. But it's important for me to just prep the audience and say, this is what's coming, right? So actually in our trail launches when I first said it, but in Telugu I will go say it more kindly and deeply to many people that, see, the idea of Venki's films in Telugu have always been like the entire family goes with your kids and this and that and go watch it together. This is the reverse of it where everyone can watch it but all alone.
Yeah, it's F3 but the Fs are different.
Yeah, it's F3 but the Fs are different.
We have no Fs to give, right? So
so...
But it's always the Telugu audience has been very welcoming of extremely new things if it's done to an extreme.
Right.
If you try to half-ass it, they're not with you.
Right.
You either have to go full crazy or go full right? And I think this is really what...
Yeah, he's gone all out.
Yeah, he's gone.
And he's been 100% on the ball saying, I want to do this.
This is Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
In Tropic Thunder. He's gone all black.
Yeah. He's really... He'll be the best thing that you can watch. It's the newest Venki that you can ever see.
Yeah, it's like...
something. And he's all in.
Yeah, I really, hope this leads to better things for other actors as well. Because, the minute a star of that magnitude comes to OTT, you're like, okay, what's he going to play? And then when you see I've seen a few episodes and I'm like, oh my God, this is like totally,
But
like...
I know of actors who are waiting. Like I was talking to Ravi Teja, who is literally dying to do insane shit. And the thing with him is his Hindi, by the way, is as good as Ashutosh Rana and Manoj Bajpayee, because he's from Bhopal.
That's true.
It's impeccable. And when he spoke to me, I was zapped. I'm like, who are you? So I've got so many actors. So once this breaks out, touch wood, it will give a lot of people that...
Liberty.
Thank you.
And also freedom, right? I'm saying what happens is usually when you're in the films, they'll say, oh, here you go, this is what happened to your market, that all kinds of rubbish, right? Right from when I wanted to do a Hindi film, it was the same. So you just have a bunch of actors have to do it and then it becomes norm.
Right. So let's end this by beginning with you and saying, if you had the next opportunity to remake an American or a series from anywhere, which one would it be?
Oh, I'm already working on one. Can't tell you.
Okay. So name something that
Hypothetically, you want rights to. Just put it out there.
Hypothetically. Oh, gosh. Breaking Bad.
Okay.
I have Good Wife coming up. Along with other shows, but no. Okay, we'll go with Karan and then come to me because I still have to think.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd do a sort of take on Game of Thrones, but with Indian history and maybe history of the Deccan. I think that is fascinating. It's actually Game of Thrones on steroids, minus the dragons. And we'll throw in a few dragons, it'll be insane.
That's not an adaptation. What is that? Okay.
Yeah, that would lend itself a lot to Indian mythology.
Yeah, not mythology. Actual like medieval Indian history of the Deccan especially is insanely fascinating because it is a Game of Thrones that's going on.
Right.
And it really makes that look like a PG-13 show. Yeah.
Right.
Like what was really happening in the Deccan back in the day.
Basically, you want to do something with a lot of nudity is what it is.
No, well, nudity is not the thing, but it's like
he's really shy about directing those sex scenes.
Yeah, considering my first scene or the first scene on OTT was a sex scene.
But what I'd want to be a part of what adaptation as a show or a film. Show. I think I'll just stick to this one first. Let the audience watch it, and then we'll try to get more of Rana Naidu going.
Wow. Okay.
The show was a big commitment, man. I just didn't realize it when I signed it. It's like 3 movies in one shot.
After shooting for Bahubali for 300 days, he shot this in 100 days, but still it's a big commitment, which is a fact, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
But he loved it. But he loved
I loved every bit.
Loved it.
Right.
See, you're just used to 70 scenes in a film, right? You're shooting that over 100 days. And here you're in some 250 scenes. It's a different ballgame.
Very
Yeah. 250 scenes in a day.
I would want to do The Stand. Stephen King's Stand has been done twice, done wrong, and I have a very clear vision for it, which I really want to kind of make, because I think it'll be outstanding. The other one, which I have tattooed on my arm, is The Dark Tower, which I think Mike Flanagan is making right now,
right.
and I really want to do it. So yeah.
Flanagan, yeah.
Cool. So all the best for
Thanks
Rana
so much.
Naidu.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
And pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you.
Experience 10 days of Grand Europe trip for easy EMI of Rs 25,000 only with GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Wonder Diamonds, South India's largest lab-grown diamond brand, stores at Chennai, Coimbatore, Bangalore and Hyderabad.